Hello and welcome. I will be the moderator today for the digital dialogue. For the benefit of participants who are blind or who have visual impairments, all speakers will begin with a short self-description. So I'll start. I'm sat down in my office in Berlin with the centre's logo behind me. I'm wearing an indigo dress and red lipstick. I have silver streaks in my previously very dark brown hair. Digital Dialogues is a series of panel discussions where we explore civil society's perspectives on the emerging digital world. As we know, CSOs play vital roles, from delivering aid and defending human rights to advocating for social change and much more. That visibility and the sensitive work that we do can attract unwanted attention. Cyber attacks on CSOs are frequent, and they have many motives, from stealing donor or beneficiary data for financial gain, disrupting our operations, or silencing voices we want to stand for. These incidents can disrupt our essential work, compromise sensitive data, and erode the trust that we have built within our communities and donors. Today, we will be examining two critical aspects of cybersecurity for civil society organisations. Firstly, how to effectively manage incidents when they occur. And secondly, how lessons learned can strengthen the prevention for future efforts. We will focus on real-world experiences. The panel will cover the full incident management cycle, from detection to containment, recovery, and post-incident review. This session is particularly relevant for CSOs navigating limited resources, as well as this growing digital risk. We will offer practical insights to help build resilience and maintain trust. To guide us through today's session, I am delighted to extend a warm welcome to our three panellists. We have Florent Bitchy, who's the Chief Information Security Officer at the Cyber Peace Institute, who brings his deep expertise in protecting civil society from digital threats on a global scale. We also have Heiko Rossnagel, who's the Head of Competence Team Identity Management at the Fraunhofer Institute for Industrial Engineering, IAO, specializing in security, privacy, and identity management, but with a focus of human factors and technology development and adoption. And lastly, we have Ruth Apolot, who's a technologist and digital rights activist. She's working an intersection of technology, human rights, and community empowerment, and specializes on building resilience against cyber threats. We'll put extended bios into the chat when each speaker provides their opening input. To start us off today, as always, each panellist will introduce themselves and frame the issue by sharing the current landscape and their key points for about 5 minutes. After each of the panellists have given their inputs, we'll have some discussions and questions. Please don't forget to post your questions in the chat and we'll get to them later in the session. Florent, would you please join me on camera and put your screen on?
Hello, Rachel. Very nice to meet you. Hello, everyone. I'm Florent. So let me share how I describe myself. So I've got glasses. I've got blue screen bag in the back. I'm calling from Marseille. I've got a terrible French accent, so you can notice and know when I'm speaking. I'm wearing a black t-shirt from a DB band from Bordeaux called Bombardement. And that's it. And I'm between 40 and 60 years old. And I got gray hair. No, I got brown hair. So, yes. So I'm the CISO from the Cyberspace Institute. Let me start debrief what we're doing. Cyberspace Institute is a non-profit organization based in Geneva. More or less, our main goal is to help non-profit and humanitarian sector against cyber attacks. And for that, we are trying to upgrade their skill in cybersecurity. And for that, we have a platform called the Cyber Peace Builders that is free, pro bono, where the nonprofit sector can join. And we provide free assistance and free expertise from people from private companies that are willing to help them. And it's considered like a Tinder of cybersecurity for nonprofit. You got needs, they got skills. We do the match, and then you have mission and you can upgrade your skills in cybersecurity. I will tell why NGOs are targeted. You will say, But first, because of what they do, because they fill critical gaps in our society, and they can targeted by regimes or states because they don't like what they do. Uh, and it's also because of that they know, because they are mass sensitive information of at-risk communities. And for criminals, it's very easy to steal such a data, and it's high value data they can sell. And obviously, because of what they have, because they are raised last year, they raised over 3 trillion US dollar annually. So criminals, they just want money. So obviously, you are an easy target. And the last point is because they are weak, because they have other priority than protect themselves and IT infrastructures. So they are easy target. Uh, Right now in our program, we have 500 more, almost 600 NGOs we are monitoring. And in the last year, we have found 23 were affected with 703, so more than 700 infection. 90% of them are leak credential, and we have found like more than 900 vulnerabilities in their infrastructures. To tell you more or less how they are, when an NGO is coming to our system, they do a small awareness, and at the end we have a score, and you can see that half of them doesn't have any backup, half of them doesn't have 2FA put in the security, 60% of them has only endpoint security. Uh, that kind of things, it's very simple. It's very simple to put in place, and it's upgrade automatically the level of cybersecurity. That's the kind of mission we are providing in the Cyber Peace Institute. And the other mission we have is to help them when they are under attack. So we have a kind of a SOC, which is a Security Operation Center, and it's when an NGO is under attack, she can open a ticket, we can help her, or we can help it, or we can use the volunteer group we have that are part of the application that can help them. Uh, I've got a small example last time that happened. It was a database leak. So we have a partnership that sent us some information that a database was of an NGOs was leaking on the dark web. So we found out that the database was open to the world, no encryption, a very, 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 very poor password. So all the data were leaked. So we had the NGOs to recover, we securize, we change the password. It's something simple that could have been done, but because NGOs doesn't have the capabilities at the beginning to organize a proper IT, there was that weakness. I think that's 5 minutes.
Wonderful. Thank you for being so punctual, Florent. I'd
Always.
like you to turn off your camera, and I will invite
Yes.
Heiko to join us on screen for his opening comments. Over
Hello.
to you.
Hi, my name is Heiko. I'm a male person. I'm wearing a gray t-shirt. I'm also wearing glasses. I'm also between 40 and 60 years old. um, I also have a beard, and yeah, that's, I think, yeah, with a little bit gray hair in it as well. Um, okay, so much for my look. Now, what am I doing? I'm working at a cybersecurity researcher at the Fraunhofer Institute for Industrial Engineering. As Rachel said, we are focusing on the human factor or the human being in cybersecurity. But I also have some first-hand experience with a recent cyber attack. Our institute was attacked last Christmas, and the head of institute decided to appoint me as the crisis manager. So in the last half year, I have done a lot of crisis management, and I can give you a little bit of first-hand experience on what is to do and what is happening within yeah, with such a cyber attack. And one thing that I would like to point out is that right in the beginning of such an attack, you usually have kind of a chaos phase. or we also can call this the headless chicken mode, where everybody is in panic and doesn't really know what to do. And the longer this phase takes on, the worse it becomes. And this is also the phase where most mistakes are being made. So mistakes are not being made before the attack, not only made before the attack occurs, but also right after the attack. So for example, one common impulse is to turn all the PCs off and turn everything down. And this, on first glance might be useful because you think it prevents further spreading or further encryption, but essentially you're only destroying evidence that is really important for the forensic analysis. So it would be much better to remove the internet connection and leave everything running, because then you are able to use forensic analysis and be able to maybe detect when the attackers actually infiltrated your network, because this usually happens a lot of days before the encryption actually occurs. And this is very important because if you want to restore your backup, you need to go to a point in time that is before the infiltration, because otherwise you are running into the risk to also restore the backdoors the attacker used to get into your network in the first place. And so, after that, if you avoid a lot of these mistakes, then the real work actually starts. And I think one of the big misconceptions about cyber attacks is that people often think it's only about the IT. It will affect your complete organization, and there is a lot of things to do that go beyond the IT. I think this is also something that's really underestimated. You have to do a lot of other things, like, for example, notifying authorities on time, fulfilling your notification duties. For example, in regard to GDPR, if personal data is involved, then you have 72 hours to inform the data protection authority. And this has to be really, comprehensive information. So you cannot just say we've been hacked, but you really have to provide what kind of data has been affected. Then you also have to get into some sort of an emergency operation of your organization. The organization still has to work on, because even if the crisis is ongoing, and you need to communicate with a lot of people. It's something that is extremely underestimated. There's a lot of communication going on. You have to communicate with your customers or your partners, but you also have to communicate with your employees, because they don't know what to do and what's going to happen, and so on and so forth. So there's a lot of communication going on, and also of course, you have to do the IT stuff. You have to rebuild basically everything, and you also have to do the forensic analysis. And then once you are rebuilding, you can think about recovery of your backups and so on. And of course, you also have to do the damage assessment. And as I said, communication is a lot of it, and not all of it is pleasant. So actually, none of it is pleasant, because everybody you talk to is kind of angry at you, even if it's not your fault, and not your personal fault. So this is also something that really is very hard for the crisis management team. And so I think one suggestion that I can give is that it's very important also to have to get some also positive feedback to the crisis team from the people of your organization. I think I'm already stretching my time, so I'm going to end this with one positive point. I think also what people don't know is you can prepare for this. And you can do a lot of things to make this, I mean, even if you are affected, to recover from it, and to make this less pain as it is normally.
Thank you, Heiko. And I'm sure we'll hear more from you in the discussion part about practical tips and positive ideas. I can ask you to turn your camera off now, and I would like to invite and welcome Ruth to join and turn her screen on and to share her opening inputs. Thank you, Ruth.
Oh, all right. Thank you. Good evening at my end. Ruth Apollotti is my name. Currently, also wearing a pair of specs and putting on a green shirt and a black trouser. And so with the self description, I will not be exact. With my age, I love to say that I'm a young woman, and as issues pertaining my work, I'm a passionate digital rights activist. Currently, practicing with a Digital Defenders partnership hosted by HIVOS, that is based in The Hague, but implementing here in Africa. And also in my private practice, I also do incident response in the region and basically for civil society organizations in Eastern Africa. So for today's session, looking at the context where we operate at, it's very important to understand that for our audience that most cybersecurity incidents that we handle are informed by the dynamics in the context that we live in. That is the kind of advocacy that these organizations find themselves in, informs the kind of threats that we respond to. And then for sustainability aspect of it, currently we design programs that we try to evaluate the current posture of these organizations, because most of them actually cannot afford on-site IT support, like my colleague said, in the West, like in Germany. So they have varied backgrounds of staff, which are even limited in number. So we try to make the most out of these individuals by teaching them the very basics when it comes to incident response, for example, so that they're able to curtail the impact as they reach out for effective escalation modalities. And I think, yeah, for an important insight into our session today, I want our audience to understand that in the incident management cycle, I'll go with preparation. Preparation is very essential in determining the level of resilience the organization might find themselves in, and how the impact will be evaluated. And preparation goes goes deeper up to explaining aspects, for instance, how we train these individuals who have limited skill set in as far as holistic security is concerned. And then it goes to preparation, look at the aspects of policy, frameworks, training, and all those aspects come in hand to determine how resilient they will be at the end of the day. Thank you.
Thank you, Ruth. Now we're going to move on to the second part of today's session, and I'm going to invite all the speakers to turn their cameras back on. And we'll give a few minutes for you to tease out the relationships and the intersection between your various works. So I will hand over to the panelists. Heiko, Florian, if you would please turn your screens on, and we will start with the questions.
Okay.
So do any of the panelists have a question for one another in relation to what you've just heard?
Oh, yes. I got a question. That is to Flor. what mistakes have you observed, okay, in your incident response experience that you've been exposed to? I would love to hear more of that. Thanks.
Thanks, Ruth. We have so many mistakes. But we are started this SOC. It's been like 6 months, so we have. But it's been 5 years that we are gathering some incident when they are arriving to us. And okay, I will talk about small NGOs. So that means no budget of ITs. Okay, they don't have any on-premise. They're using cloud facilities, whatever is it. Could be Microsoft, Google. Everything is on the cloud, and most of them the website is hosted on WordPress. When they're on tech, it's always the same story. So someone put some plugins in WordPress. It's not updated. It's not upgraded. So there is some weakness. Attackers get inside, just encrypt everything, remove the website is done. The NGO is very stressed. That most of the not most of, but half of the time they don't even know where it is hosted. They don't have the credentials. Nothing was prepared, so no backup, nothing. That means the website is down. Most of the time there is an event coming like in 1 or 2 weeks, so they need the website, but it's not. They don't have any backup, so it's you cannot imagine how stressful is it for them. This kind of attacks. So the first mistake will be delegate the IT to someone in the beginning that because he liked it to organize the IT, and most of the time this person left, then no one's took it, or they took it, they manage the WordPress, but they don't have to, they've never been to the hosted solution. So they're never organized backup and stuff like that. So on this side, it's very bad because it's very hard to recover from that. That's the first mistake. The second mistake that I found is how people can treat an incident as an on-off situation. So when it arrives, they want to recover at any cost. And so they change the password. Once it sounds like recover, they just switch off. It's very hard to communicate with them anymore because they have other priorities. But that's bad because if someone get in, we need to investigate, and this is not recover properly, so it might happen again, and they didn't fix the security breach where the attacker came in through. So it's an attack is a multiple step. People get inside. Obviously, you need to recover, but we need to understand how they get inside, what is still inside, and how to. It's a circle. How to get back and fix everything, and that will not even appear. And use this experience for all the communities. That's what we are trying. That's what we are trying to do. Where every time we have an incident, you learn a lot of that. You can have a playbook or template. You can replay, or you can put it as a mission for the other NGOs. They can to harden their cybersecurity in order never to get in this situation. And the last mistake, I will go for the shame. What I call the shame impact. That means I'm repeating this all day long, but there is no shame to be hacked. No shame. I mean, it will happen to everyone. So that's it. But people, they don't tell. Some of them, they don't tell, or they are too shame because it sounds like they don't have the technical capabilities, or that's why they're under attack. So they don't tell, and that's very bad. So this is trying to make it not too dramatic. Okay, that happens to everyone, and it's not a matter of your capacities or how good or how bad you are, and there is no masculinity on this. I used to be a teacher at university in France of computing science, and all my students, they were mainly male, very technical, and very proud to be the best hacker. And there is a competition in this I really dislike. So there is no shame of being not good technically. It's okay. And if something gets wrong, as the earlier we got the information, the easier it is to recover.
Yeah, I may add that I fully agree with this statement. Yeah, I think it's one of the biggest mistakes you can do is try to keep it to yourself and don't tell anyone, or try to hide it. That's not going to work, because oftentimes the attackers just post it on the darknet, uh, and then you can do nothing anyway. So it's better if your customers or your the persons you serve um, get it from you and not from the internet. I think that is important, and also seek help whenever you can get it, because you cannot do this alone. Yeah, this is extremely a difficult task to rebuild the IT properly, to make the forensic analysis, and you don't have the experience and the expertise to do it yourself. Seek help. Find out how the attackers got in. That is the most important part, because if you don't fix the hole, they will get back in again and do it all over again.
Okay, very cool. And to add something on top of that, to be able to give information and to do a forensic investigation, that means you need to understand your digital footprint and your IT infrastructure, whatever is it. So and it's something that most of the NGO we know, I mean, apart of the one that's quite a high budget and then they have IT team, but the other, they're not really, they don't have this. And this is it's a lot of time to gather those information, and it's the time we waste during an attack.
Mhm. Yeah.
I've got a question for you, Heiko. Um, what can organization do with the small budget and little capacity to improve their ability to fight against cyber attack?
Yeah, I think one of the first things you can do is, as you've pointed out correctly, that everybody can get hacked. So it's good to prepare for it, to actually assume that this is going to happen to you, and start preparations for it, to be able to react to it. So one small thing that I think is very helpful is to have some sort of an emergency handbook for the day X when it happens. It doesn't have to be anything special, it doesn't have to be technical, but it has to be something like a list of the most important people to call, and the numbers of the authorities you need to inform, and just having this list of also small steps on what is to do, that you are aware that you, for example, have to inform data protection authorities if personal data is lost, how much time you have, and these kind of things, just to write them down, and to do this as an organization, so to do it together with the people that have important roles in your organization, because you have to at some point set up a crisis management team that deals with this, and don't want to waste time to figure out who's going to be in this team. So you can actually do this all beforehand, before you've been attacked, that don't have to do this during the crisis, that you don't have to look up phone numbers of your colleagues, and these kind of things. Yeah. Um, and this is it doesn't cost much, maybe 2 days of work to just collect all the relevant information, have maybe a couple of small playbooks on how to behave. Yeah, you can do the research beforehand on what is necessary to do, what are first steps, and this is not costing you a lot of money. This is simple, and you can do it before you have a crisis at your hand. And then also, I think, as you've pointed out, every system that is connected to the internet or has any contact with potential enemies has to be updated. It has to be in a newest version. and this has to be done regularly. So I think updating software is extremely important. This is something where attackers get in, and furthermore, I think it's also important to talk to or to address the human factor, because in most of the attacks, humans are involved. Most attacks are facilitating employees to open up the doors, basically, and therefore I think doing something in regard to security awareness is also a very important step.
Yeah, I totally agree, and I will go for the crisis management because I think you are an expert. We have a small template for the builders, for the beneficiaries. What we did at the institute that was fun, well, fun for me, but maybe not fun for the team, but well, is to conduct scenario and where we invent a crisis and that we play once a year. So no one knows when it will come, and but it's at one point it's fun, it's game, so you learn, and it helps you to. I remember the first one we played. I mean, something I didn't thought of before doing it. It's how people the noise can be loud during the beginning of the incident, and how you have you need to be organized, to know how to communicate with the others and who has to talk and who should listen, and the type of communication channel you should use, not the one you are using every day, because if they are compromised, you cannot use them, and stuff like that. But very so I remember with the very few rules in the beginning of an incident, you can really calm down the situation, avoid the stress, and start monitoring. So stuff like that are very easy to do. It doesn't cost anything, like you say. It's just being around the table and decide how you want to handle a crisis, and that's helped a lot.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, totally agree. Yeah, but maybe we can also yeah, ask Ruth about because I mean I've a little bit explained how it is for a bigger organization like a research institute, but I'm wondering what is an appropriate response to an incident, or what's happening for small NGOs? What would be an appropriate response?
Thank you, Heiko, for that great question. So for small setups, especially in Africa, in as far as incident response is concerned, preparation, as I alluded earlier, is very essential in preparing them for these imminent threats. In looking at preparation, you're looking at aspects like training, okay? You want to make these users understand what kind of threat model they are dealing with, how it integrates with their daily work processes, so that it is relatable, like in their language, it's relatable to what they do every day, so that they're able to identify these threats when they happen. And coming with the aspect of training, you want to accompany this with the aspect of policy. You want to create robust information security policies that are not just like a simple download, say, from the internet to fulfill a donor requirement, but you want policies that users can relate with, policies that are informed with threat assessment, with context analysis, that you involve them in this process, so that together you craft a security policy that is relating to what they actually experience every day, so that it is very easy for them to actually implement and adopt these policies. So those are two major aspects that have played a great role in my experience actually responding to incidents for smaller organizations, because they don't have expertise on site. they actually outsource, and already one of us has hinted on how dangerous it is to actually outsource issues of security, information security, to outsiders, to consultants, without like giving some other considerations. Yes.
I can see some questions and comments appearing in the chat, and I encourage other participants watching today to add any more questions. So we'll take the last bit of time that we've got today to get through some of these questions. Timo from Wikimedia in Deutschland has asked a question which Helen has said, same question too, and that's, can someone please explain how an NGO can get external help in crisis management during an emergency? Florent, maybe you could speak to that question.
Of course. Well, if you are part of the Cyber Peace Builders, then you will, I do my own advertise. But yes, you will have a template of crisis management and a cybersecurity policy. I didn't talk about cybersecurity policy, and I think that's the main point that is protecting you. But I will talk about this later. But on the crisis management, we have a template and some scenario you can play. If you have an emergency, first you have to contact the authority of your own country to declare an incident. But then you can seek help to us if you are part of the builders. But there are some incidents that we are not helping and mitigating because they are too complex and we don't have the resource. So we have a template of incident we can handle if a DDoS attack, website defacement, leak credential. But things like ransomware, it's very complex because we don't have your infrastructure footprint, so we don't know exactly how to recover. We don't have the logs, and most of the time it's very, very difficult to recover from ransomware. The only way to recover is to have backup. So that's why we mitigating such an attack is not important. I think it's preventing it is more important, because if you have everything backup, all organized for resilience, then okay, you can be attacked, you can recover. So so yes, you can get help, and for people like us, or you can obviously buy help from private company, but it's very expensive, and for stuff like ransomware, I don't think they will help you. What do you think, Aiko, about that? About the ransomware? Do you think it's it's recoverable?
Yeah, I think you definitely need to get external help, and you need somebody who really knows what they're doing, especially when it comes to the forensic analysis, which is not easy, and that usually costs, of course, money, but probably less money than paying the ransom. Huh? And I think it's worth it, because if you don't know how the people got in, it's very difficult to get them out. Huh? And what I could also say is that a lot of companies now in Germany, they form kind of alliances between each other. And I think this could be a model that could help for NGOs too. I think what you are doing with your network is basically to institutionalize it. Yeah? But even if people are not part of your network, which they probably should be, they could also form alliances between two different NGOs, just to make clear that if one of them is attacked, the other will support them with IT support and things like that. Yeah, that could be probably doesn't work for the very small ones, but seeking help before you actually need it is probably a good idea.
That Florent, you mentioned it, but Ruth, you also spoke about it in your opening comments about frameworks and policies, cybersecurity policy. This I'll ask you, Ruth, where can very small CSOs who don't have a lot of time and capacity, where can they start with these frameworks and policies to have sustainable practices?
Okay, there are very practical instances where they can start with securing these very important documents. For instance, when, for instance, they can start with an admin component of it, actually, that is very practical. This is planning, okay? And budgeting, information security aspect into organization planning, okay? Which is in most often overlooked. It's not taken care of because it doesn't inform the main aspect of their advocacy programming, I would call it. So it is very important that the leadership of these organizations actually start with integrating, however much a percentage, integrating an aspect of information security in the organization planning. And then, of course, user education at very nascent levels on aspects of sustaining good practices of information security will go along in actually forming a basis to have effective security policies and these frameworks in place.
Thanks.
You got a very good point, Ruth, and I totally agree on that. That the cybersecurity policy is a very core of the should be the very core of the IT. And what you said about the adoption of the C-level, if you from my experience, if the C-level doesn't onboard this and push it to the enterprise company, whatever, it's you waste your time. It will never work. So this has to come from the top. And this has to be pushed by the C-level to make it work, because that's rules you need to follow. If you don't follow them, then there is we can act and we have to respond. And if everyone is following those rules, then you are already quite good protected. And it has to come from the strategy level. So that means you want to protect your strategic asset, then you create rules to protect them, then you apply for the whole organization.
Thank you. Yeah, and I would assume that once C-level understand how big a threat this is to their organization, they should take it very seriously. And there's lots of very good research and statistics and numbers to help back that up for anybody who's struggling to get their C-level on board. We've had a question from Michael, which is a kind of a bit more general, big picture, and that might be helpful to some of our other audience members. So Heiko, could you do a very quick rundown of what types of incidents are most likely to affect CSOs, and how can small CSOs or any CSO identify what type of threat or what type of incident this has been?
Yeah. Probably Florent has more experience on saying what type of incidents are happening, but I think there are. I think one of the points is how severe are they? Yeah? If it's just your website that is blocked by a DDoS attack, or is it really something where they encrypt all your files and ask for ransom or steal sensitive data and sell it on the internet to other people? I mean, I think, especially for NGOs, there's a lot of sensitive data that they possess, especially when it comes, let's say, for example, about refugees or things like that, that can be very dangerous if it gets into the wrong hands. And there are some bad people out there that are interested in getting this data just to make a profit or to use it for evil purposes, and therefore I think those attacks are probably more likely, I would say, than asking for money, because non-profits usually have not that much of money as a company. But just because you are not rich doesn't mean they will not attack you. They are also very interested in data, and they can make money out of selling data. So I think this is an important aspect.
Great,
I
thank
hope this
you.
answered the question.
Florent, do you have any other top attacks that you're seeing coming up regularly for CSOs?
Most of them, you have two types of attacks. The one that you saw them, so you are aware of the attack. So it could be coming from a phishing, and then you have got a ransomware, you've got DDoS attack, you got website defacement, and these are very common attacks. Most of them, they are blocked every day. as sometimes they go through. That's the main attack we have. Then you have the attack that are silent and that you're not aware of because you are not monitoring the infrastructure. So people are already inside, so they are leaking data, many things, credentials, and or you have attacked by state or big or criminal organization and IPTs and stuff like that. It's very difficult to monitor because for that you need sensor, you need ERD, you need many things on the infrastructure to be aware of it. But they are very interested because they are targeted very political and sensitive uh, communities. But most of the, like I said, most of the right now what we are seeing it's ransomware, a lot of ransomware, website defacement, and leak credential, info stealer, stuff like that.
Yeah. Heiko, you mentioned that the chaos period is where most mistakes happen, and it's really important to shorten that phase. Do you have any top tips for the audience about how to shorten that phase?
Yeah, I think the main tip that I can give is prepare for it. Assume that it's going to happen. It will happen to you at some point. It's very likely. So make preparations for the day X when it actually happens. So the emergency handbook, for example, to set this up, I think is very important. To do things like a regular backup, extremely important. Yeah, because if you don't do backups, your data will be lost forever. Yeah. Backup is the only chance to get the data back, and it doesn't have you have to make sure that you actually have a backup strategy and not just put it on one tape and don't do and put it on the same tape every day. Yeah, because one thing attackers always do is the first thing they're looking for is, are you doing backups and when can they access them? Because if they destroy your backups too, then the likelihood of paying a ransom is much higher. Yeah. Uh, and therefore I think it's very important to prepare, and you can also do things like an emergency tabletop exercise where you just assume that the situation has happened and then you simulate it and go through it. What are the steps to do, and just to actually think about what you would do in such a situation, and have a playbook for it or something. Um, that is, I think, the most important thing I would say that helps you to get through this chaos phase. If you have that in place, the chaos phase will be a few minutes or a few hours and not several days.
Yeah. So we got 50 minutes in until somebody asked about AI. So I'm going to take this as the last question. It's very hard, and I want to give chance for all panelists to give a very short answer. So I'll sum it up slightly differently. So how do you see AI and different emerging technologies changing the threat landscape for CSOs? Ruth, what's your very quick answer to that?
All right. So first track, we need to remember that we still need the human aspect. Even when we're talking about AI, we are going to rely on ethics because we are the ones that train these models. We feed them with instructions on what to do. So what we need to do, I will say briefly, is be ethical with what we train AI to do and hold companies accountable. Thank you.
Thank you. Heiko.
Yeah, I think AI is a mixed bag of things. Yeah, it can be used for defense purposes, but it can also be used by attackers, and it will be used, and it will be used in a way you probably don't imagine right now in attacking human beings with social engineering attacks. We have the possibility to fake voices and video. This is so good now. You can take a clip from a person from YouTube, 30-second video, and you can simulate their voice exactly to the point and let them say anything. Yeah, and this is I think extremely dangerous. Also, the phishing attacks are getting a lot better. They are not making any spelling mistakes anymore because the AI is writing the emails, and so it will be harder to spot these kind of phishing mails from now on. And also the phishing mails can be much more targeted to your person, because all the data you leave on social media can be facilitated by attackers to simulate that they are someone who knows you or something. Yeah, or has mutual interests, or so on and so forth. So I think the attacks will become much more sophisticated using AI.
Yeah. Florent, final words on AI changing the threat landscape.
AI, my God, AI every day. Yeah, AI is the last nightmare the human mankind has decided to invent to bless themselves. That's wonderful. Yeah, like Heiko said, it's already used, and I see that as an accelerator. No, it's like 2 minutes you can just impersonate a website, saying that you're organizing an event and ask for donation, impersonate an NGO. Before it took hours, now it's just one click, and you can. So obviously, it's an accelerator of attack, and because we have to play with it, then it's an accelerator of defend. So you cannot live without it, and you have to work with it, to know the tricks, to know how to use it for your defense, because it's already used for the attackers.
Yeah. Thank you. We sadly come to the end of our time here, and we won't end on AI and everything changing and the big leaps that we're seeing and the potential dangers. As Ruth said, there is always a human in the loop, and there's ethics. And I think we've heard today how important the human element is in cybersecurity, and that all CSOs, all members of the team need to be aware and involved in this. And whilst we've sadly heard that CSOs are targeted and it's increasing, and that sadly we are very vulnerable to these attacks for various reasons, we've also heard that there's lots of really practical, doable measures that we can do. So for my key summary, I heard there's no shame in being hacked at all. It's not about capacity. It's not about not doing it correctly. It happens to everybody. There's no shame in that. Speaking up, sharing and collaborating is really, really important, and it can help all of us stay strong together. Be prepared. Just kept hearing that again and again in many, many ways of having a little handbook, making sure everybody's trained, making sure everyone's on board, including C-level. That's really, really important. And then when we do experience attacks, which we will all do, unfortunately, to find out what happened. Because if we didn't find out what happened, we don't know how to fix it. And if we don't fix it, it can happen again. So they are my key insights. Within being prepared, there's lots of elements about policies, training, frameworks that we sometimes don't feel are important, but I think we've heard today how very crucial this is. This leaves me just to thank all of our speakers today, Florent, Heiko, and Ruth. Thank you for an incredibly insightful discussion, some very practical tips, managing to lighten the tone of quite a serious issue. I'd also like to thank our sign language interpreters and our captioners for their tireless work throughout the session and for signing very complex, tricky technical jargon. So thank you. And thank you to the audience and for all of you who have joined today. I hope you've got a lot out of it. Many thanks. Have a great afternoon, evening, or morning.